Our objective for today is I can solve a subtraction problem with regrouping using branching. So remember our steps for subtraction. Step 1 is to build the minuend. The minuend is our whole, it's the biggest number. Step 2 is to take away the subtrahend. That's our second number in a subtraction problem. We always start by taking the ones away. Then we take away the tens, and finally we take away the hundreds. Then you are left with the difference, which is the answer to our subtraction problem. Let's look at this first one. It's 92 minus 5. For this one, you can watch me do it, and then for the following ones, I'll have you do it with me. So for 92 minus 5, our first step is to build our minuend. And our minuend is 92. So remember when we're doing branching, we write our number in expanded form. So we put our hundreds, our tens, and our ones in place based on our minuend. So are there any hundreds? There are not, but I do have tens and ones. So I'm going to break 92 down into expanded form, which would be our 90 and our 2. So now our next step is to take away our subtrahend. And our subtrahend in this problem is 5. So this 5 is in the ones place, so I'm going to do minus 5 in my ones. But can I do 2 minus 5? If I only have 2 of something, can I give away 5? I can't. So one of the chants that I use to help me remember this is more on the top, no need to stop. More on the floor, go next door. So this number is my top, and this number is on the floor. So there was more on the floor. 5 is more than 2. So that means we have to go next door. Just like with our base 10 blocks, we have to do some regrouping. So we are going to take away 10 from this 90, and we're going to use that 10 and bring it into our ones. So now instead of having 9 tens, I'm actually only going to have 8 tens because I'm going to take one of those tens and bring it into my ones place. Now I have 12 minus 5, and that I can solve. 12 minus 5 equals 7. Now let's move on to my tens. Do I have any tens to take away? I don't. So I'm just going to subtract 0. And now remember, I'm not looking at this 90 anymore because the 90 I already took a 10 away. So I'm actually looking at this 80. So the problem that I'm solving is 80 minus 0. And 80 minus 0 equals 80. So here's my difference in expanded form. And when I put it into standard form, my difference is 87. Now it's your turn to try one with me. Go ahead and grab your paper and draw out your hundreds, tens, and ones chart. Our first problem is going to be 245 minus 8. So go ahead and point to the minuend. Which number are we going to build? We're going to build 245. So let's start by writing that in expanded form in our hundreds, tens, and ones chart. Now our second step is to take away our subtrahend, and our subtrahend is 8. So that is in the ones place. So we're going to set up our subtraction problem for 5 minus 8. If we look at this though, do we have more on the top or more on the floor? We have more on the floor. 8 is bigger than 5. So remember our saying, more on the floor, go next door. So we need to go over to the tens place and borrow a 10. So instead of having 4 tens, I'm only going to have 3 tens now. And the 10 that I borrowed from this 40 is going to come over into my ones place. So instead of just having 5 ones, now I'm going to have 15 ones. So now I need to solve the problem 15 minus 8. Go ahead and do that subtraction problem and write the difference down on the bottom. Hopefully you wrote 15 minus 8 is equal to 7. Now let's move on to our tens. Do I have any tens that I need to take away? I don't, so I can just take away 0. Now remember, I'm not doing 40 minus 0, I'm doing 30 minus 0 because I already took 1 10 away. So 30 minus 0 is 30. And do I have any hundreds to take away? I don't, so again, I can subtract 0. 200 minus 0 is equal to 200. Now go ahead and write your answer in standard form. $245 minus 8 equals 237. Let's move on to our next one. Our next one is 506 minus 73. Go ahead and draw your hundreds, tens, and ones chart. Now for your next step, go ahead and build your minuend. So you're going to take 506 and write that in an expanded form in the hundreds, tens, and ones chart. So you should have 500. Were there any tens? There were not. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a 0 there. And then there are 6 ones. Now let's start in our ones and take away our subtrahend. So I have 3 ones to take away from my subtrahend. So I'm going to set up my problem in the ones as 6 minus 3. Can I solve 6 minus 3? I can. If I have 6 of something, I can give away 3. I can also think of our saying, more on the top, no need to stop. So I can just go ahead and subtract right away. So 6 minus 3 is equal to 3. Now let's move on to our tens. How many tens do I need to take away? I need to take away 7 tens. So now I'm going to set up the problem 0 minus 7. If I have 0, can I give away 7? I can't. More on the floor, go next door. So now we're going to go next door to our hundreds. I'm going to borrow one of these hundreds. So instead of having 5 hundreds, I'm only going to have 4 hundreds left. And I'm going to move one of my hundreds into my tens. So now in my tens, I have 10 minus 7. But actually, this 7 is 7 tens, and this 10 is actually 10 tens, which is 100. So I have 100 minus 70, which I know is 3 tens because I saw it as 10 minus 7 first. So 10 minus 7 is 3, but because it's in the tens, it's 30. Now let's go to my hundreds. Do I have any hundreds to take away? I don't, so we can take away 0. So I have 400 minus 0. And that equals 400. So let's take our difference and write it into standard form. 506 minus 73 equals 433. Let's do one more. Now let's try 654 minus 527. Go ahead and draw your next hundreds, tens, and ones chart. Now that you've done that, go ahead and build your minuend in expanded form. You should have 6 hundreds. You should have 5 tens. And you should have 4 ones. Now let's take away our subtrahend. My subtrahend is 527. So how many ones do I need to take away? I need to take away 7 ones. Can I do 4 minus 7? Nope, more on the floor. Go next door. So let's borrow one of these tens. So now, instead of having 5 tens, I'm only going to have 4 tens. And I'm going to take one of these tens and move it into my ones. So now we have 14 minus 7. What is 14 minus 7? 7. That's one of our doubles facts. Now let's look at our tens. How many tens do I need to take away? I need to take away 2 tens. So I'm going to have 40 minus 20. What is 40 minus 20? It equals 20. And finally, how many hundreds do I need to take away? Let's take away 5 hundreds. So we have 600 minus 500. That equals 100. So 654 minus 527 equals 127. Awesome job. Your independent practice today is to solve 4 more problems using branching. Don't forget to take your minuend and put it in expanded form, and then subtract out your subtrahend. Solve all of your subtraction problems down here, and make sure if there's regrouping, I need to see them crossed out and then brought over into the next place value. After you do that, write your answer up top too. When you're finished, turn it in.